Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of Award Travel 101 Live. I'm here with Made Possible by Points founder Jess Field, and we're here to talk about unusual point redemptions and things that you can do live with your points anytime you want to do trips that you may not have thought possible to do. So have you ever thought about going to a lounge? Have you thought about going to a restaurant? Have you thought about just taking a trip to do something that's out of the ordinary? This is what this live here is about. And we're struggling through some technical difficulties, so I apologize for the delay, but I'm here with Jess. Jess, welcome, and thanks for joining our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
So Jess, you have been in the miles and points space for a couple years based on our conversation. You said you got a feel for it back in 2015. So why don't you tell everybody in Award Travel 101 and around the world how you got your start and what kind of started your journey here towards this conversation this evening?
Yeah, so I had my daughter in 2013 and I did not grow up traveling. I took my first flight when I was 18 years old, and traveling is always something I really wanted to do, but I just did not think that I could afford to travel. So I had my daughter and I really wanted to show her the world and travel with her, but I just didn't think it was possible. And at the time, I had a coworker who was traveling all over the world with her family. And one day I just went into her office and I was like, hey, how are you going to see all these places? How are you taking your family? How are you affording to do this? And she told me all about credit card points and miles. And I was very skeptical at first, like I think most people are. And I was like, that at the time I didn't have any credit cards. I was
Right.
like, that sounds really shady. Like, are you sure that's legal? I don't think that just doesn't sound right. And she was like, no, it is, like, trust me. And so she sort of sent me some blogs to read and I sort of fell down the rabbit hole and I opened my first card that year and I have been hooked ever since.
So you kind of got started, you got a feel for what some of these could do. And are you the type of traveler you're trying to hit all these countries? Are you trying to do family travel? What is your focus with rewards now, and what are you trying to do with them?
Yeah, so with a family, it is definitely harder to stretch your points, as I'm sure you know. We do not, like, I have personally never flown business class or first class. I'm actually flying business class for the first time this summer. And purely because I'm someone who would rather go more places and like save my points and miles to go on more trips versus like take fewer really luxurious trips. And so yeah, so we fly Southwest a lot and we fly United a lot. But yeah, so this summer is gonna be my first time in business class and I am looking forward to it.
And what are you flying?
We are flying, so we live in Houston, and there is a fifth freedom flight on Singapore Airlines from Houston to Manchester.
Mhm.
And so we're going to London and Paris, but we are flying on Singapore Airlines
Got it.
direct from Houston to Manchester, and then we're taking the train to London.
Awesome. No, that's an awesome find, and not a lot of people know about a lot of the fifth freedom routes. Those are some of the travel hacker community favorites. Trying to find those to. I know one of the favorites is Emirates over to Athens and Milan. So if you can pop on those are some things that might be worthwhile too. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about me because while some of the community may know, I am traditionally an economy flyer as well. So I got my start flying discount airlines. I was always looking, how can I do more for my family? And so Frontier and Spirit, which get made fun of a lot and sometimes deservedly so, were my airlines of choice for much of my early years until I started learning about travel rewards and miles and points and things that you could do with those. So up through 2017, 2018, I almost exclusively flew Southwest, Spirit, and Frontier. And United was a treat once in a while when, we could afford it and it made sense. But the miles and points have been changing, what we're able to do, and hotel stays with suites and airlines that we wouldn't have paid for in any other way. I get to experience first class product for the first time in my life. I've never flown first class. I've flown business class before. So getting the access of that lounge. So I just came across Jess's post on Instagram, and she said, "Hey, you're never going to guess what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the airport and not leave." And so tell everybody kind of about how that got started, and what your plan was to do, and how that originated.
So the Capital One Venture X came out late last year. And when I first heard that there was going to be the Capital One Lounge, people were showing like pictures of mock-ups of what it was going to look like. And they had Pelotons at the lounge. And I am a huge Peloton fan. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to this lounge and like ride the Peloton while I watch planes take off. Like, that sounds amazing. And then in January, one of my good friends lives in Dallas, and in January, she and her husband were texting me that they were at the Capital One Lounge, waiting to leave for their flight. And they were like, "It is amazing. It is the nicest lounge." And like, her husband has like very good taste and is very picky. And so when he was telling me, "This is the nicest lounge I've ever been in. This is nicer than the Centurion Lounge," I was like, and they were sending me pictures. I was like, I have to go to this lounge. And so initially I was trying to think of a trip I could go on that would have a layover in Dallas. And then I was like, all I want to do is, why am I trying to come up with this grand plan if all I really want to do is go to the lounge? Like, why not just fly to Dallas for the day? I live in Houston. It's a quick 45-minute flight.
Right.
So that's when I kind of just had the idea. I was like, I'm going to fly to Dallas for the day. I'm going to see how much value I can get out of my Venture X card, because it comes with the Priority Pass also.
Right.
And there are Priority Pass options in Dallas, and there are Priority Pass options in Houston. So I was like, on both ends, I'm going to try and like get as much value out of this as I can. And I was telling a friend, so that day I like bought tickets to Dallas.
Yeah.
And I was telling a friend about it, and she was like, "You're insane. Why would you fly to the airport just to go to the lounge?" And I was like, I mean, I'm going to spend less during this day than I would spend going to the movies. And she was like, "No way." And I was like, watch, I am going to have like a full day of eating and drinking, go to the spa, ride the Peloton, and it's going to cost me less than it would cost me to like buy a movie ticket and concessions on a Saturday night. And it did.
And for anyone just joining us, I'm here with Jess Field from Made Possible by Points. We're talking about unusual or unique trips that you can make using your travel rewards, miles, and points. If you do have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, whether it be on YouTube, on Facebook, and let us know. Our moderator, Mike, will pass them over to us, and we'll get your questions answered. And we are running about 15 seconds delayed. So if we miss or get off topic and can't quite understand what you're asking, I apologize in advance, but we do run about 15 seconds ahead of what you're seeing. So anyway, Jess, so you started the day, and where did you end up?
Yeah, so I'll just tell you how I bought the tickets. So we are in Houston, as I said. We fly mostly United. So my husband had like 10,000 American Airlines miles sitting in his American account that we just had, for years probably, that we just hadn't used. And so I checked the award prices, and it was $8,000 miles to fly from Houston to DFW.
Okay.
So I booked one way with American miles and like $5.60 in taxes.
Yep.
And then my return flight, I used the Venture X travel credit. I booked it through the Capital One travel portal on American. It was like $63. And I got the entire thing, I got it refunded with the statement credit with the $300 travel credit. So basically $5.60 was my total out-of-pocket cost for my flight. So that morning I had my husband drop me off at the airport, and my flight left at like 9 a.m. And so none of the priority pass options in Houston were open yet at that point, because it was like 7:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So none of the restaurants were open yet. So at that point, I hadn't done any of my scheming yet, but I flew. And I had planned all this out like the night before. I was like, here's what I'm going to do. And also technically you are not supposed to be able to go to the Capital One lounge until 3 hours before your flight departs.
Right.
I was not sure how that was going to go. And so, cause I was planning to be at the Capital One lounge for like 6 hours. And so I was like, what am I going to do if they don't let me into the lounge? So like my first choice was going to be to like just beg and tell them what I was doing and say like, please let me do this. I'm posting all this on social media. But if they still didn't let me in, I was planning to just like film content in the airport. Luckily they let me in. So first we land in Dallas. First I went to the Be Relax spa, which is like it sounds. That is part of Priority Pass at DFW. They have 4 different options for services that you can get that's covered by Priority Pass. I did a 30-minute, it was like a full body chair massage, but it was like a very intense chair massage. Like I was sore the next day from this chair massage. So it was legit. So I just walked in there. It was not crowded at all. I was the only person in there. I gave them my Priority Pass card. They scanned it, told them which treatment I wanted. The guy got me set up in the chair and like just chilled for 30 minutes, posted on my Instagram stories about what I was doing. So I think that the value of that was like $40 is what it would have cost if I was just showing up and didn't have Priority Pass.
Right.
So did that, completely covered. I left there to go to the Capital One lounge. Luckily, they let me in. I did not say anything. They didn't say anything. And so they let me in. I asked about the Pelotons. And so they only let one person in. There's 2 Pelotons, but they only let one person in at a time.
Okay.
And then they clean between each person. So you have to make a reservation. So right when I got there, I said, I would like to do a Peloton ride. And she said, there's someone currently in there, but they should be done in 15 to 20 minutes. I will put your name and number on the list. And so she added my name and number, and it sent me a text that was like, you're on the wait list for the cycle room. So while I was waiting, I just had a snack. They have tons of food options, grab and go, or, fancier, nicer hot food. So I had a snack, and then by the time I was done eating my snack, I got another text that said the cycling room is ready for you. So I did my Peloton ride, and as they were bringing me to the room, I told them, because you also have to make a reservation for like one of the shower suites if you want to take a shower.
Yeah.
So I just told her, I said, as soon as I'm done in here, I'm going to want to take a shower. And so she went ahead and just reserved the shower room for me. Like they were so nice. This was the nicest lounge staff that I have ever encountered. Like they were so amazing.
And so I'm going to share this. So here it is. You at the Capital One Lounge on the Peloton, overlooking the concourse and the planes coming in, and so you got how much time on that?
They didn't give me a time limit. I did a 30-minute ride, and they didn't kick me out at any point. so I did a 30-minute ride, and she even came like in the middle of my ride. She came and was like, I just want to make sure everything was okay. And like, you don't need anything. So they were very attentive. And so then, yeah, so I did a 30-minute ride, and then I took a shower, and the shower suites are amazing, like gorgeous, clean, big. I had never taken a shower at the airport before. This was my first time ever taking a shower at the airport. So I took a shower, got dressed, and then I went and I was like, okay, I've worked up an appetite. Like, I'm ready to eat like one of everything that they have here. So I had bacon mac and cheese, roasted vegetables. Like, I took one of every dessert that they had. I think they had like little charcuterie cups. I was like, I'm getting my money's worth here. But the other thing I really like about it is all the food is just like in individual servings. And they have little trays for you to use. It's kind of like a cafeteria, but there's no one serving you. So you just like get a tray, and then you walk around and you just pick and choose whatever you want, versus having to like stand, because I've been in Centurion lounges where you have to just like stand in the buffet line forever and like wait for people to serve themselves. No, this was like super quick and efficient. Like, everyone just got their little tray, got the individual servings of whatever they wanted, and then they went and sat down. They had a ton of drinks. I posted pictures on Instagram of this, but they had like draft, sweet tea, lemonade, ginger ale, like every drink you could think of. And then obviously all of the cocktails are included. So I think I had like 4 different cocktails. I was like, I have to sample the whole menu basically. And their cocktails are legit. They are not like vodka soda. It was like, one of the drinks I had like had a twisty straw and like a little umbrella in it. And then, yeah, one of them had like a flower in it. Like, they were amazing, high quality drinks.
So
yeah.
I actually, one of the things that was interesting, and I wish I would have had the opportunity to do some of the spa stuff as well. But several years ago, I'd say it was about 2.5 years ago, a buddy of mine and we did a daddy-daughter trip to Dallas, and we flew Cleveland to Dallas, and we stopped in the Centurion Lounge. And at that time, pre-COVID, you had the ability to get massages in the Centurion Lounge. But unfortunately, with little kids, that's not permitted. So we never got to do all the fun, spa and back massage and all those kind of fun things. So it's cool that, they had some of those things open to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that someone said, like, what's your opinion on tipping? So I did not tip because it was a massage chair. It wasn't like an actual person massaging me. And so I didn't tip anyone there. They do offer, like, they had someone doing chair massages, like where you put your face in the hole and they actually massage your back. That is not covered by Priority Pass. And so that would be something to where you would have to pay out of pocket for that.
And it looks like Danielle had made a comment that referring to something you had mentioned earlier about the time limits. And she said she was with someone at the Capital One Lounge more than 3 hours before her flight, and they didn't enforce the rule. They may not be overcrowded at this point, but as the card picks up steam and more people find out the value, we'll see how that changes.
Yeah. And I was there on a Saturday in the middle of the day. And so I did that on purpose because I was like, I feel like Saturday is the safest bet for it being the least crowded. So yeah, I was there on a Saturday for like 6 hours. So then I just ate and drank and definitely got I was joking that I got the annual fee for the Venture X refunded, like just in the amount of food and cocktails that I drank while I was at the lounge.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that you can do, and if you are going to eat and drink, I usually leave a tip as if I were paying for that. So like if you're going to some of, not the lounge, but if like a priority pass restaurant. So if you're talking
Yeah.
asking about questions about tipping or things like that, I have access to priority pass restaurants with the Sapphire Reserve, and that's also part of Capital One Venture. And what was the other one? I think Ritz-Carlton card for legacy holders. There's one other card. Is it a US Bank card? Do you know? There's like I think 4 different cards that provide that. But anyway, if you have the restaurant access, you're asking about tipping and things like that, where there's a person serving you. I typically tip just as if
Yeah.
it's you were paying for the service. What's being wiped out for you is that priority pass benefits. So for example, tomorrow when I go to Bar Simon and Cleveland Hopkins and try to max out my $28, or if I can find 2 guests to guess in with me, $84 worth, I would tip on whatever that amount is there. So if that's
Yeah, I
something
do the
somebody's
same.
asking.
I do the same for that too. But yeah, so I just ate and drank until it was time for me to go to my gate. I like made friends with someone because she was asking me where I was coming from. And I was like, actually, I'm just in Dallas to visit this lounge. And she was like, wait, what? I'm going to need you to like tell me this entire story. So I made friends with her. We chatted. And then when I was leaving, and they have a ton of other stuff to do. Like I did not even do, they have like quiet rooms where they have these really like futuristic looking pods. Like they look like something from the Jetsons that you can relax in or sleep in. I did not do that, but that is also an option if you wanted to be somewhere more quiet. Like the views from the main seating area are amazing, just like watching the planes take off. And so I was very content in my huge red comfy chair, just like sitting there eating and drinking and watching planes take off. And then when I left, they gave me like 2 cake pops to bring home that said like, thanks for popping in. And I wanted to be like, actually, I was here for 6 hours. So it wasn't exactly like me popping in, but yeah, so they gave me like 2 cake pops to take home. And then when I landed in Houston, there is a priority pass restaurant in the terminal that I landed in. And so I went there and I had dinner there.
Which restaurant?
It's a cantina. I think it's called like La Cantina or something. Okay. It's in Terminal A of IAH Airport. I went there for dinner. I had like tacos and a margarita, and it was completely wiped out by Priority Pass. And I had cash for a tip for that. So really, just like the $5.60 that I spent on my ticket plus the tips was the only money I spent the entire day. It came out to like $20.
Yeah. So all total, I mean, like you said, by the time you go to the movies, get a thing of popcorn, a pop, buy the movie, you're talking $20-$30. And for this entire day, an experience at the lounges and the spas and everything like that, you came out under that cost.
Yeah. And people are always surprised. Like people didn't know that you can go to the Priority Pass restaurants on arrival, but I have never had an issue. Like if you check a bag, it makes it trickier because, obviously you don't want to be like sitting at a restaurant while your bag is just like going around on the carousel. But I obviously didn't check a bag to fly to Dallas and then back again. So yeah, I went to the restaurant and I think that the terms for restaurants just say you have to show a same day boarding pass. They don't say that you have to show a boarding pass that you're departing.
Back in the Amex days, that you had to have that. So for anybody just joining us here, prior to August 2019, American Express also had access to these restaurants. And when they were part of that network, a lot of the restaurants had strict policies about whether you could only do it on arrival or departures or things like that. So pretty much after Amex left the pact, I guess they started making this a little more accessible to arrivals as well, departures and arrivals. So both.
Yeah. So they just asked me for my flight number. They didn't even ask to see my boarding pass. They just asked for my flight number. I'm assuming this will vary by restaurant and location. Right. But yeah, so I got like a $40 massage. I mean, I probably got at least $100 worth of food and drinks at the Capital One Lounge. Like their cocktails that would probably be like a $15 cocktail at a bar or a nice restaurant, and I had like 4 of them, plus all the food. I took a Peloton ride. If I were going to a cycling class at a studio, that would have been like $30-$40. And then I had dinner on my return. That was like another 28, wiped out by Priority Pass. So a lot of money.
Yeah, so we have a comment that refers back to what I was saying earlier. Jay Rome said that the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve is the other card with the Priority Pass credits. So if you have either the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve, the Sapphire Reserve, the Capital One Venture X, or the Ritz-Carlton, those are all cards that provide access into the Priority Pass restaurants. So you can get Priority Pass lounges with a lot of American Express cards as well as these cards that I previously mentioned. But the Capital One Venture X just recently opened its own lounge, so just visited that. And I hear they're opening a few more too. You have any plans to visit the new ones? Date with your husband. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking. So I am a Hyatt fangirl, and there is a Grand Hyatt that is connected to the DFW airport.
Yes.
And so I was like, I want to come back and like stay the night at at the Hyatt. Like the tram at the airport like takes you to the Grand Hyatt. And so I was like, I want to do it again. But that's a good idea. My husband and I could go to Denver when that one opens. I'm actually going to Denver this weekend, and I was like, maybe we'll hear that like the lounge is open, but I don't think it has yet.
The Centurion Lounge there, if you have the time and the ability, is pretty nice there if it's not backed up. So
yeah, I'm planning to try the Centurion Lounge on Monday. We will see how that goes. And I was actually thinking, I was when I went to DFW, there's other things included there with Priority Pass too. Like there is it's called Gameway, and it's like video game. A video game place that you can go and like sit in recliners and play video games. I am not a huge video gamer, but I could totally see the appeal of that if you are, or if you have kids with you. So that is something else that I didn't do, but that I could have done. They have at DFW, they just have a ton of options. I was going to go to the Centurion Lounge to compare it, but then I didn't want to leave the Capital One Lounge. So I was like, I'm just going to stay here.
So Maris Berry asked, is there anything for kids in the DFW Capital One Lounge?
They don't have like a family room or a kids room that I recall seeing. But depending on how old the kids are, like the plane watching is amazing. My daughter she's 8, and she would love to just like sit there and watch the planes take off, because they just have huge windows and all the seats are like facing the windows. And so she would really like that. If you have younger little kids, I don't know how much that would entertain them. But the lounge itself is really big. Like there's a lot of seating areas. It never felt overcrowded to me. Like when I went to get food and drinks, there was never anyone. Didn't have to wait in any lines. So And there's plenty of food. Like if your kids like food, they could eat there all day long.
Yeah, and I know that I remember the things about the video games, and I know that so with you being based in Houston, I know there were some priority pass because we had a meetup in Houston a few years back, and I know that everybody was hitting all the priority pass stops. I can't even remember the place we stopped in, but there's just so many different options that you can actually get more value. And this is kind of the idea here between what Jess talks about on Instagram and what we talk about here in the Award Travel 101 Facebook group is getting more value for the rewards that you have, the credit card perks that you have, doing things that are unique and in a way you wouldn't have thought to do before. And I'll have Mike share. I've shared her Instagram in one of the posts. We're trying to keep it across a lot of different media here, but we'll get all that out. And we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to ask questions and learn more from Jess about what to do, because there are a lot of things that you can do with this. And it's an exciting thing to me. It was exciting, 3 years ago when I was able to go and do a status match, which is obviously dying now. It's not available to everybody to do, but I did the Caesar status match and met up like 10 different group members here out in Atlantic City. We did that. And then I was like, you know what? I've got this free night to use. Why not take my wife on a date night? So I'm going to have Mike share that here in the comments. And I wrote up a date night, how I went and we did use the Caesars dining credit, and we got a free night at the hotel. We were upgraded to the penthouse floor, and all of this on perks. And when I started realizing all these things have connectivity, so you have your MGM Gold, you can match that over to Hyatt Explorers, which may not be as good as Globalist, but it's better than being, nobody at the bottom. So there are all these things that keep tying together that you can maximize these programs, so to speak, get more value, enjoy your stays, make more out of what you were already going to do. And that's the whole point of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So we have somebody got a $240 of value from 4 restaurant meals on our last trip and $24 worth of mimosas in the Turkish lounge. Which Turkish lounge? Is that in DC, or is that in the States, or is that over in Istanbul? So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things to do. So when you finalize the night, you finished out all the lounges, and it cost you $20. What did everybody say? Was your husband surprised by it? I mean, does he follow? An active player too here, or?
He is so used to me saying, okay, I have this idea, hear me out. Like, our entire marriage is just like me. This is probably one of the crazier ideas that I've had. And so when I initially told him about this, I was like, I need you to drop me off at the airport, and then I need you to come back later and pick me up. And I'm going to just go to the lounge. And he was like, okay, he trusts my ideas. So he did not give me any pushback. But he is not on social media. So he was not like following any of the stuff I did. But then I told him about all the stuff I did, and he was like, wow, that was like, you got a lot of value out of that. And I was like, see, I told you. And then a bunch of people were messaging me on Instagram saying, okay, initially I thought that this was a crazy idea, but now that I have seen you do it, like that actually looked like a really fun day. And I had a bunch of people messaging me that they were like sending my stories to their sister or friend to meet up at that don't live in the same city, that they were going to try and like meet up at a lounge to have like a lounge day. And I was like, that's amazing. Just like thinking outside the box when it comes to using your credit card rewards and getting the most value out of it. And if you can see a friend or a family member in the process, then that makes it even better.
No, I'm part of a lot of different groups, and some of the groups that was a part of before I started community managing for Award Travel 101 it wasn't uncommon at all for people to say, hey, I'm flying through such and so a city, I have a long layover, or anybody want to meet up, and you'd have people from that city say, hey, I'm in town, I have some free time, and I'll pop over to the lounge. And there are ways, people, there are ways. So if you want to start digging in, you can, but it's not uncommon at all for people to use that as a meetup point because it's easy. It's something
Yeah.
that, once you start getting into the field, once you start going down this rabbit hole of travel rewards and loyalty programs and credit card perks, you start finding ways to make things happen that you wouldn't have thought possible before. And again, that's why I saw Jess's story and I said, I've got to have her on, because this just something that doesn't get talked about too often here is, people talk about going to the Maldives. They talk about, their Europe trips and things like that. And unfortunately, at this point in time, I'm not I don't have the ability to do those large travels. I have the points balances to do those types of travels. But with my family situation, that's not something we're able to do as of this point in time. So I try to find how can I maximize the trips that I can do, closer to home and stuff like this. It's just always fascinating to see people thinking outside of the box like this and doing unique things, making, more of what they have that, not everybody else was thinking of. So we
Yeah,
have,
no, I mean, and it wasn't a trip where you would even need, like, I could have done the trip if I didn't have those American miles. I could have just
Mhm.
charged the entire flight to the Venture X and gotten it covered by the travel credit. So really the entire day in theory could have been covered just by the Venture X.
So we have another comment here. Let's see, Chris Ramella. The hardest part of all of this is figuring out what is available for what and how. Like you just said, this card gets you here and transfer this to that. Very confusing, especially with all the abbreviations. Yes. You know what, Chris, the interesting thing is my wife tells me that I'm too complex, that I make it too hard for everybody with all these abbreviations. And I was in the same spot probably 4 years ago when I first joined. I actually joined Award Travel 101 when founder Richard Kerr was running the group. And everybody talked, oh, this, DFW or IAH or whatever. And it's just something that comes with time. You start learning, the CSR, that's the Chase Sapphire Reserve, or DFW, that's Dallas Fort Worth Airport. These things start coming. You start getting a feel and a hang for these. And if you ever have a question, you're always welcome to ask in the group, but usually a quick Google search is going to tell you the answer just as easily. So as Richard used to say, the old Google machine will get you pretty far when you're, trying to find some things. Sometimes it just takes knowing what to look for. And that's where, having had a little bit of time in the field, you start getting an understanding of where to look. So what do you think about that? When you have people ask you about all the abbreviations on social media, what do you usually come up with?
I still have to Google things regularly, and I have been doing this for 7 years, and there are still airport abbreviations I don't know. There are still other abbreviations I don't know. And so I am by no means, like, I feel like we're always learning,
Yeah.
even if we've been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah.
And there are people who are like AV geeks who can tell you like every type of plane. I know none of that. Like when people talk about like J seats and like I don't know what any of that means. I'm like economy or business class or first class. Like that's how you have to talk to me. I don't know what any of those letters mean. I could not identify if I saw a plane flying overhead, I could not tell you what kind of plane that was or what the seat configuration is. Like I just don't have the mental bandwidth to care about that kind of stuff. And so I have to Google stuff all the time too. So no shame if that's you too.
Yeah, no, it's something that it just, again, like you said, it takes time learning all that. I have a little more interest in the types of planes and things like that, just because Oftentimes I'm stocking out certain routes that fly certain types of planes that have certain types of seats, and we get lots of people saying, hey, I want to do Q suites. Well, not every plane has Q suites, so you have
Right.
to know which routes have that. Or, I want to do Emirates first class, or I want to do the 380 and do the shower, which isn't flying right now. So you have to, maybe the 380, I don't know if they started flying it, but I don't think you can use the shower even if they were. But there's a lot of things to learn. You're never going to know it all, and it's one of the things
Yeah.
that I just learned is like, hey, there's so many people that know way more about all this than me, but I'm kind of a generalist. I'm trying to help everybody, get more for what they have. I'm probably helping 99% of the people here, and there's probably a 1% that say, they know way more than me, and they can retain more than me, and they've been doing this for 20 years longer than me. So, so it goes.
Totally
With
agree.
that in mind, Jess, you were telling me that you had some exciting news with one of our favorite dates.
Yes. So I just announced it yesterday on Instagram, but next month I am launching a course. It is called Award Travel Academy, and it is geared towards beginners or people who are just starting out, or maybe are too scared to take the leap and have not actually started travel hacking yet, but are interested in miles and points and traveling for free. And it is basically like I have taken my 7 years of Google research and put it into a course that is a step-by-step guide of how to get started, how to develop a credit card strategy, which cards you should open, all the rules that you need to know. When I started, the 524 rule was not a thing, and now it is a huge deal and is what really, dictates a lot of people's credit card strategy. And so all that knowledge in a course that you can just watch instead of having to try and Google and figure everything out.
Cool. And we're excited to see how that goes. I've got a few more questions here. We're going to wrap up shortly, so get your questions in. Mike will send those over to us, and then we'll wrap up here with Jess. Fellow econ traveler here, your thoughts on cashing out points using Chase Pay Yourself Back or the Charles Schwab Platinum Card, since award prices in economy are often not worth it compared to low economy cash fares. I've got an answer for this, but I'm going to let you take the lead on this.
I do not cash out my Chase points just because I use probably 90%, if not more, of my Chase points for Hyatt stays. Hyatt by far gets me the best value. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the points for like United or Southwest that we have from opening the co-branded United cards or Southwest cards, having the companion pass, things like that. But my Chase Ultimate Rewards points, I use a vast majority of them for Hyatt.
And I also use the vast majority of my Chase Ultimate Rewards for Hyatt, because I find that membership rewards tends to go farther for the type of travel that I do, as well as the type of travel that a lot of the international travelers are doing. When you start seeing 25, 30, 40% transfer bonuses from membership rewards into some of these programs, that's the way I prefer to use them. However, I also follow what you're saying here with regards to the cash prices, and especially this, and this is something I want to actually have a discussion and probably do something in a couple weeks when we all get back, and because we have so much of our team traveling, and I'm hitting the road tomorrow. So I want to talk about this because right now summer prices are bonkers. I mean, let's
They're
face it,
insane.
anybody
They're
who
insane.
asks, and I mean, we're getting a lot of people who are coming out of pandemic mode and saying, hey, I want to hit the road again. I want to use my miles and points. And the redemptions are god awful right now. I mean, they're harder to find the deals, the saver awards. I'm finding that right now, I actually I have a post coming a little bit later, probably early in May, about a trip to Hawaii I booked. and very little of it was traditional award. So I actually did use my points to pay for some ridiculously priced economy flights. I did use my points in that way, but I had a very specific goal in mind. I didn't just book any willy-nilly flight. I picked a certain route that had tons of availability, and happened to have an acquaintance in the field who was willing to book his plus points on my behalf to give me the best shot of an upgrade. And as a 1K, I should get that if those seats open up. So flying a Dreamliner, I know you don't necessarily care about the plane, but the Dreamliners, A350s and Dreamliners typically are pressurized to a lower altitude, giving you a more refreshed feel when you're flying and when you land. And so it's nonstop Dreamliner from Maui back into Chicago. And worst case scenario, there's premium economy, which is like domestic first class. So I used my points in a way that I wouldn't recommend most people use them, but I'm also generating them probably faster than most people are using them after all the tools I've learned through the award travel groups over the years and through the different communities and things like that. So I would, if it depends on how fast you're earning them. And I guess that's really the question I always ask. I say, if you have a business and you're spending $2 million a year and you're earning 5 times points on that, the amount of points that this costs is not going to be as relevant to you as if you're signing up for 1 or 2 cards a year and you're getting 60,000 points. So you kind of have to evaluate the whole situation. I'm not opposed to it, especially if the cash out prices are better than what the award prices are. I can tell you that the economy flights that I would have booked on United were something in the neighborhood of 45 or 50,000 points one way, which is just insane. So you can't use a partner. You're not going to be able to use Singapore.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to use Turkish. You're not going to be able to use a lot of the programs we would typically try to apply these to. But I did use I didn't use Pay Yourself Back. I actually used the Chase Travel Portal so that I could book the cash ticket. I think it was like 37,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards per person, and I've got 4. So I'm flying 4 people at 37,000 a piece in economy. But again, I have plus points tied to it. And the other piece of it that I didn't mention is that I'm also taking my newly earned American status through the loyalty point program, and I'm going to be doing a status challenge over to United. So that's going to help me towards earning United Platinum status. So all these things, I use them, but I'm using them as tools and steps to take it to the next level, and not just because, hey, willy-nilly, I want to use my points. I really don't want to use them that way, but I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars of cash on an
Right.
econ flight either. So
yeah, and I mean, I think I think at the end of the day, value is really subjective when it comes to points and miles. And if your goal is to pay $0 out of pocket or pay as little out of pocket as you can, then do what you got to do to get there. If it's not the best value ever, then I mean, who cares? Just if it's worth it to you, if you'd rather just cash them out and have it done, then
yeah, there are going to
for
be
it.
people who say, hey, that's not the best value. I guess in my mind is we're always trying to enhance the value. Can you find better value? I'm
Yeah.
sure Jess has some cool Hyatt stays. I have one this summer with my wife. We're going to do the Ventana Big Sur, which it's like, if you want to talk about cash redemptions versus points, it's an insane number.
We're going there too. We're going there in November.
Okay, we're going towards the end of July, and I just looked at it and say, with that and the suite upgrades and things that we can apply, yes, we can get more value that way. But if that's not on your list and that's not something, you don't need to worry about what everybody else is doing. You want to do what's going to suit you and how it's going to keep your costs down and maximize your trip.
Yeah. And it's taken, like, I'm sure it's the same for you. It has taken me a long time to figure out how to get the best value and to do all that. And I know a lot of times when people are just starting out, like, it's like speaking a foreign language, you know, like dealing with transfer partners and booking, you know, the same alliances, like
Yep.
that is complicated. You know, I tell people, I'm like, if you're just starting out, I didn't start booking through partner airlines until I was like years into this, because I had to get comfortable with just the basics first, you know?
Yeah, I think I was probably, let's see, I got my first rewards card in the end of 2014, and I didn't really start getting serious about it till the end of 2017. So that's almost 3 years of
Yeah, it's
kind of
3 years of like
loosely reading and getting,
practicing and
and it was
learning.
almost another year after that. It was towards the end of 2018, I made my very first partner award booking, and I booked a Delta One, and that was our first time flying long haul business class, Delta One nonstop from Detroit to Oahu. And we used Virgin Atlantic points to book that. And, the Delta Sky Miles required were insane to book the same thing. But
Yeah.
here we were able to book a trip that was there, no way we would have ever been able to pay for those flights. But that was something that effectively, if maybe you want to call me a slow learner, but it was a 4-year process before I booked that
Yeah.
very first partner award.
Yeah. And I tell people, like, that's another thing that I find appealing about the Venture X, to is that you can just erase, they have the travel eraser where you can just charge travel expenses and then use points to erase them. And that is super beginner friendly, because you can just put any hotel or flight on the card and then erase the purchase. And it's 1 cent per point. It's not the best value that you're going to get from those points. But if you're just looking for easy and efficient, then it's a good way to go.
We have one more question I'm going to ask, and it sounds like a couple people have asked this in the comments. Mike passed on and asked, is this your full-time job?
It is not my full-time job. I have a 9 to 5 job on top of this.
And as do I. So a lot of people talk about the time investment, and there is probably no one that talks more about the time investment than my wife, because she knows what I put into doing everything and trying to help make sure people's questions are answered in the group and things like that. But what kind of time do you invest in this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my nights and weekends are content creation, and it doesn't, like, to me, especially with my course that is coming out, that has been a process. I have been working on that since January. It is a labor of love. It is a lot of time that I have put into that on the weekend and at night, and it's still not done, but it will be done by next month. And yeah, it's just time management. And also, I just genuinely enjoy talking about points and miles and creating content around points and miles, so it doesn't feel like work for me. It's fun. I love getting messages from people saying, my family just booked a trip to Hawaii for almost free, and we never thought we were going to be able to go there, and now we are.
Yeah.
Or I got a message today that was like, my family's going to New York City. We saved $1,700 by using points, and like, I could have never done this if I hadn't found your page. And so, like, I just find it really rewarding to help people, turn their travel dreams into reality. So
that's a great way to put that. So for everyone, we're going to wrap it up here. If you want to find Jess, she's Made Possible by Points on Instagram, and you can give her a follow, support her on her page on Instagram, check out her reels. I think you'll find that there are a lot of interesting things that come up and what you can do. And I want to thank you all for joining us here in Award Travel 101 to talk about all the things that we love here in the group. Jess, thanks for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Everyone.